Steve Lee, who is a climate change activist, a policy advocate to the United Nations, and a global speaker. He is the executive director of the Foundation for Environmental Stewardship and its 3% Project. He's going on 5 national tours across 400 towns in 2 years to educate and empower 1 million young Canadians to solve climate change in their local communities. And I hope you'll include this 300 Americans in that effort as well, Steve. Steve will delve into what consumption means and how to make it more sustainable, and he'll explore the links of consumption to climate change. So please help me welcome Steve.
Thanks so much for having me. How many of you here are from New York City? Raise your hand. New York City, represent. Anyone here from outside of North America? All right, awesome. Yeah, so welcome to this chamber. Happy International Youth Day. I'm so happy to be here, and I want to urge you today that I don't want you to be here so you can tell your friends that, oh, I went to New York and I went to UN and I sat here and I have photos. We don't need that. We can't afford that. We need actions. Wherever you came back from, I need you to go back and take action on consumption, on sustainability, on climate change, on sustainable development. I need you to take actions back where you came from, engaging your friends. So please think about that as you progress throughout this event. We need to take action. And I'm so glad that we are talking about this, the whole cycle of sustainable production and consumption. You cannot take this piece apart from one another. It is so holistic. It is so cyclical. It is really a cycle. It keeps going on. It begins from extraction to production to consumption to disposal. And to really break that down, you got to get stuff. You make stuff out of it. We use that stuff. Then we got to put that stuff away. And when we do that, where do we really fit in? Where are we most empowered to make a difference in part of that cycle? It's really the consumption, right? You don't really, most of us in North America don't go extract, the natural resources, nor do you actually make the stuff out of that. We actually rely on the system to extract and produce. Then we take that and we consume it. And how do we consume that? We work and we earn wages. Then we exchange that wage with the products that are provided for us. And what needs to happen is, as we spend our money, we need to be very conscious of what we're spending our money on. Because every time we spend a dollar, every time we spend our money, we're validating and encouraging businesses about everything about the product. For example, 6-ounce steak, right? That's about a bar of soap that fits in your hand. That takes 380 gallons of water. That would fit a fish tank about this big. That's about 2-3 bathtubs. A pound of beef would require so much water that if you didn't take shower for 6 months, you would have saved a pound of beef that takes the water to make. So really, to make an effective change and really contribute to solving the problem itself, it's no-brainer that you reduce your meat consumption, that you eat less meat. And it's not just the meat. When we are looking at all the different products, whether it's the chocolate you buy or plastic bottled water you buy, every time you're buying something, you're saying that I care more about just what I'm buying. I care about how it was made, how the workers were treated when it was made, how it was delivered to me, and how it's going to be thrown away after I use it. And when we spend our money, we're making a declaration to businesses and governments and all the people involved that I agree and endorse everything that was involved in this process. And we need to open our minds from what is outside of our sight. And that's one of the difficult parts of the consumption, or when we spend money, that we don't actually get to see the different parts of how it was extracted, how it was produced. And we need to be aware of how that's happening. And I'm so glad that it is happening here today, to really hear the stories of how it's extracted, what the people's stories are when it was extracted. when it was produced, who's producing that? Who's making that? Who's delivering it to us? What are their stories? And really focusing on their stories, can we truly appreciate what we're buying and what we're consuming? So I'm so glad that we're looking at this whole chain. And when we look at this whole chain, we can see how this really contributes to the global climate crisis. And when we continue to spend and spend without really looking at the whole cycle, what happens is we overwhelm ourselves and our planet to the extent that it is no longer capable to replenish itself. The Earth is an amazing cycle that can continue to replenish what we use. And when it uses, it continues to recycle every part of the natural cycle. And what happens is when we consume, if all 7 billion of us consumed at a rate that a North American does, we would not only need the whole Earth, we would need about 5 Earths. Then that means we got to spend differently. We got to extract differently. We got to consume differently. So when we spend and consume differently, how are we looking at that, and how does that contribute to the whole climate crisis? When we consume at a rate that we're doing so now, we burn greenhouse gases into the atmosphere so much that it's equivalent to 400,000 Hiroshima atomic bombs blowing up into the atmosphere every single day. 400,000 atomic bombs every single day, 365 days a year. That's an insane amount of energy. And our planet is protected by a surprisingly thin layer of atmosphere. It's so thin that scientists say it's comparable to the skin of an apple. But it looks so vast from our perspective looking up into the sky because it looks endless. But it isn't. But because our perspective is different, we dump all the greenhouse gases with no responsibility. And when the greenhouse gases go up, it thickens the atmosphere, it warms the atmosphere, so the temperature rises. When temperature rises, we experience heat waves. Here in New York City, we're going through a bit of heat wave. It's an inconvenience to us. But to people in India and Pakistan, this is a matter of life and death. Last year alone, 1,200 Pakistanis died from the heat wave. So this year, they dug 2,500 graves in advance, and every one of them found its owner. The heat waves really are an impediment to the global agenda. And it's not just the heat waves. When the heat goes up, 90% of that heat goes into the ocean. So the ocean temperature goes up. Then the ocean water evaporates. What goes up must come down. So all this water that's going up needs to come down at some point, and all this comes down at the same time. That's why you experience the downpours that are so great, the hurricanes, and those who came from the Philippines, those who came from the east coast of North America, we experience and understand the power of the downpour that we experience. And we cannot afford those crises anymore. And we really are the final generation who has a fighting chance to curb climate change, to avoid its most extreme measures against us. We must take action on climate change. And we must have this very holistic lens of looking at the climate crisis. And this is so important. I cannot stress this more. The Sustainable Development Agenda is not about my issue, your issue, which issue is more important. All of them are so interconnected that we need every single one of them. We need every single one of them. I'm a proud member of the UN Interagency Network for Youth Development Working Group on Youth and Gender Equality. Why is gender equality important to solving climate change? It matters so much. Climate change impacts young girls, young women, way more disproportionately than it impacts men and young men. And we don't think about that. We don't think about that. Education has huge component. When we understand climate change, the rate of high school graduation actually squares quite proportionately as to how much we take action on climate change. All of the aspects of the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, fall square in equal importance to targeting climate change, looking at sustainable consumption. So I urge you that when you go back to wherever you came from, that you would do the following 5 things. 1, learn about the issue. Please learn about the issue. With internet, we have unprecedented access to stories of those who are impacted by this problem. 2, challenge your personal lifestyle. We must change from within. We have to change how we spend, how we engage the world. 3rd, challenge others to join you. And it's not hypocritical to ask others to join you while you're trying to find the path to justice. You will fail, but you keep trying. And you bring others to fight that injustice, not because you're awesome and all put together, but because you need others to join you to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. 4th, engage the systems. We need high-impact strategies that will impact both from bottom up and top down. We must engage our friends, and youth have amazing power to engage youth. Youth engaging youth is same thing as adults engaging adults. We like listening to people who are similar to others. Go engage youth. Go engage people around your circles. And you also have to engage the systems that are involved in this. Write to the private sectors. Stop buying products that you don't agree with. Write to your congressmen. Write to your parliamentarians. Go talk to your local media. You'd be surprised how easy it is to actually get a meeting with them. Talk to your mayors. Talk to your school principals. Really take action in engaging the system itself. And lastly, have a sober-minded confidence. Youth have tremendous power to change the world. And it's not just an overstatement. It's not just an overstatement. We have to believe that, but it can't be just idealistic that, oh, I'm young, I can do anything. It can't be that. It has to be sober-minded, laser-sharp focused confidence. And I hope that you'll go back to wherever you came from and take action on tackling climate change, tackling sustainable consumption, tackling all aspects of sustainable development. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Huge thank you to Steve. And I love this idea of